Welcome to the Worst of the Riot podcast. Coming up, which movie has the best music of all time?
Also, would you ever consider sharing your toothbrush? And more on the Worst of the Riot podcast.
Today, a bit of an unusual day here at RadioU. We've gone through a lot of changes recently, and I'll tell you that without giving away too much myself, we're about to go through one more, and from there, I will just let Isaiah have the floor.
Unfortunately, today is my last morning on the riot. Shocking. It only feels fitting. It only feels fitting to hit that one this morning.
If ever there was a time to play that.
The shocking sound key. But yes, this morning is my last morning on the riot as I take on some new chapters in my life and continue on down the windy turnpike that is going to be
the windy turnpike of love
of my life. So this is the final show this morning. But I look back this morning so graciously on so many great opportunities that I've been given here at RadioU, as well as opportunities to meet listeners, and hanging out with you and Nikki every morning has been such a joy in my life. So it makes for a sad but happy morning.
Yeah, it's definitely bittersweet. Because, we want the best for you, and it's been a lot of fun doing the show together, and I'm glad we get to do it one more time. And in fact, many times in radio, people might not know this outside of the broadcasting world, but if you decide you're leaving, or if the company decides you're done, you don't get a 2 weeks.
No,
you don't get a final show. So we're fortunate here that the situation is that Isaiah still has gotten to be a part of this thing, and have a final day here, because we know that either way, Isaiah's not going to come on here and trash RadioU. We're not going to trash Isaiah.
That would be a wild morning. Wouldn't that be the wildest morning of RadioU history?
Yeah, but that's what any broadcaster is afraid of. And here, the situation good enough that we can wish you the best. We can have a final show together and have some memories, and just look back on the fun that we've had here at RadioU with Isaiah, because it hasn't been the longest time of all time, but has been one of the most fun.
It was an eventful time. I'm sure I've probably said some of the dumbest things people ever heard on air, but I have great gratitude in that. Yeah,
it wouldn't be the same if you didn't.
Yeah.
So 8772 RadioU. We'll just we're still gonna have fun today. We're gonna make the most of it.
Add a little riot to your Instagram feed. Follow at RadioU Official. The Riot. RadioU.
Shohei Ohtani, the biggest star in baseball. He hit his first home run in a Dodgers uniform on Wednesday night.
About time.
That's right. So they played more games than I think any other team so far. He finally got his home run on Wednesday night. And the lucky fan in San Francisco, where the game was taking place, that caught the ball, exchanged the ball, gave it to Shohei Ohtani. He was offered 2 caps and a bat, and also got to meet Shohei Ohtani. Many are saying he got ripped off.
He wanted more.
What say you, Isaiah?
Well, it just depends on how much that means to you. This is a memory for a lifetime.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'd just be happy to catch a ball. Have you ever caught a ball at a game?
I've never caught a ball.
Me neither. I've never caught a ball while I was playing.
Me either. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels like it's how much does it mean to you? Does meeting Shohei, if you're a huge Dodgers fan, does that mean the world to you?
Mm-hmm.
Or were you hoping for some cash in return?
Yeah. It seems that that this fan should have gotten more, just sheerly based off of the fact, I don't care how much meeting Shohei Ohtani means to you, and unless you're fluent in Japanese, you probably wouldn't even be able to converse with him.
That's what I was thinking too.
So, I don't know how much that meeting would really mean, but some are saying the ball could be worth $100,000.
$100,000?
Which is crazy. It shouldn't be worth that much. It's not even his first home run ball ever. It's just his first home run ball with the Dodgers. But nevertheless, if that's even in the discussion, 2 caps and a bat and a meeting, a meet and greet, a face-to-face is not enough.
Yeah, it feels low if they're crediting that much.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess in the moment, you're the fan, you're at the game, what do you get? Like, you don't know how much it's going to be worth. You probably know it's worth a decent amount, but $100,000?
I'm asking for like lifetime tickets at that point.
Yeah.
I want seats every year.
Mm-hmm.
Something, or at least for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Commenter saying I would have started the negotiations at $225K. They bring you a bat and a ball cap. You're like, no. Go back. Try again. Are you crazy? Not even close.
I would have asked him to wire $4.5 million to my bookie.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because I know he's good for it.
And you could have turned that into however many million.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I think this is a lesson, anybody. If you catch a ball at a game and anybody comes up to you that's not a child, like if you or I came up to we're at a game, we caught a ball, a child asked you for it, would you give it to him?
No.
Not a child.
Next.
What would you say to the child?
It depends on what the ball is. Is it a normal ball or the Shohei Ohtani?
No, it's a normal ball.
Oh, a normal ball. I'll give the normal ball away. That's
to a
fine.
child?
Give it to a kid, yeah. That ball doesn't mean much to me.
Or could it teach them a lesson and say, look, this ball shouldn't mean that much to you because you didn't catch it.
You didn't even earn it.
Yeah, this ball is going to be empty.
There's no handouts here. Your father wouldn't even want me to give this to you.
That's right.
I don't know why he has you over here begging for it. Get your kid in line over here, please.
But if somebody like from a team comes up to you and wants to trade you for the ball, you got to hold out on that. You hold out. You negotiate with them. You don't just hand it over for 2 caps and a bat. You hold out for more.
Don't you think you'd crumble in the moment, though? I think I might.
I mean, what are they going to do? Kick you out?
I don't know what they'd do.
They can't steal it from you.
But they probably intimidate you. I assume the guy that comes up to you is probably like 6'4", big dude. He's like, we're going to need that back, but we have some things for you.
Do you think it might depend if it's a home team or the away team, but do you think the crowd would be on your side if like security guards come over and they're like, you got to give that ball, you got to hand that ball over, son?
Oh, for sure they'd be on your side.
The crowd would be with you,
They're always
right?
on the fan side, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you hold out. You've got
you
the crowd
need to wait
with
the
you.
night.
Yeah.
You got to go home for one night. If you can get out of the stadium with the ball.
Sleep on it.
And say, you know what? I need to go home. I need to think about it. Mm-hmm. But we can negotiate tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll give you my number. You give me a ring, all right?
Yeah. I'll still give you a sweetheart deal. But you're not getting this for 2 caps and a bat.
My dad would really like to see it, so I got to take it home first. Yeah. I got to show him I caught it, and then I'll think about sharing with you.
You don't always have to agree with Isaiah to always disagree with Hudson. The Riot. Radio U.
Isaiah, I don't know. I think you left before this conversation started taking place in the break room, and then it kind of carried over for most of JR's show last night. But the talk was that earlier this week was National, I don't know if you saw this in your useless knowledge prep, but it was National Soundtrack Day.
Oh, yeah. I love some good soundtracks.
Yeah. And so the question was that JR and some of the other folks from around the office here wound up putting together an entire bracket of the best movie soundtracks of all time. They say soundtrack, but I think that like different people have different ideas of soundtrack. I say soundtrack includes the score of the movie, the songs that have lyrics in the movie that you would sing along to, but also it could have songs that aren't original to the movie, like say Guardians of the Galaxy would be a good example.
Oh my goodness.
The songs in that movie are not, they were made, obviously, like in the first one, they're from the, 70s?
But they're in the movie.
But they're in the movie. I think it's harder to compare those against movies that are all like mostly original stuff, but I think you can still count those. So what would be, and I suppose we could open this up possibly to the Riot hotline.
877-2-RADIO-U.
The best movie soundtracks of all time.
There's a lot of good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, if you're counting that, those are just hit songs one after another.
Yeah.
It's not really fair.
I guess that you would put that as like one of the best movie playlists of all time.
Yes.
But maybe possibly not the best soundtrack necessarily. But that is a great playlist. Another one that has a great playlist, some would say, like the movie or not, Forrest Gump.
That's a good one.
Yeah, very timely music. But then you think some of the... So I'll tell you, there's one that not a person mentioned, and I went back. I was part of the discussion, and then I went back and listened to the entire... Anytime JR talked about it last night, there was one movie that was not mentioned at all that I can't believe, and that is Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, and nobody mentioned that?
As soon as you hear the music from Indiana Jones, dun 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 dun, dun never mentioned. But I think that's a classic. That is a classic right there.
If I went down the list of a couple movies that come to mind immediately, soundtrack-wise, I'm thinking Hercules.
Oh, that was not mentioned either?
That wasn't mentioned?
Myriad Disney movies mentioned. Some that were shocking to me, that was not mentioned at all.
What about Jungle Book?
Also not mentioned.
Oh my gosh, nobody's going with any of mine. What about a Goofy movie?
No.
What? Eye to Eye is like a top 5.
Oh man, that
song.
Yes.
Come on.
That is a classic.
Those are some of the ones that come up. I mean, obviously people are going to say.
And then The Open Road, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are going to say, I assume they said Frozen.
Frozen, definitely. Frozen. Yeah, that was a part of the discussion.
People also like Moana.
That was mentioned. I don't think that made, because they narrowed it down to 16 and then kind of turned it into a bracket. Moana, I don't think made the bracket.
Did Lion King make it?
Lion King is one of the icons. I think that if I'm putting together Mount Rushmore, Lion King has to be, because it has a great score and great songs.
Yes, it does. Did people mention Tarzan?
Yes. I can't remember which of the gals said it, but she said Phil Collins went off.
Yeah,
Tarzan.
Of course. Yeah, he did.
He did. He held nothing back for Tarzan.
Yeah, those are some of the first ones that pop into mind for me.
I mean, just really almost any Disney movie. You go back to like the original, even Snow White, like it has songs you remember if you heard them, all the way to modern day Disney. Just about every Disney movie has a great soundtrack.
Ben texted one in, and this one I know is like acclaimed across the interwebs.
Mm-hmm.
Tron Legacy. Apparently, I don't know that I've ever even seen the movie, but if you type in best movie soundtracks of all time, for whatever reason, Tron Legacy is like everywhere. And I don't know any of the songs.
I don't know about it either. How do you picture Tron Legacy?
Tron Legacy?
Yeah, like how do you, like if you had to verbalize what you think the soundtrack sounds like without hearing it.
Some sort of like EDM thing.
Yeah. I kind of feel like
some sort of electronic music.
I was thinking like Stranger Things before Stranger Things.
Interesting. Because it's all futuristic.
Yeah.
They're riding the bikes. But it feels like it would all be like pretty high-paced stuff.
Yeah. But likewise, I've never seen the movie and I've never heard the soundtrack that I know of.
But I know that's a good one. So that is, I'll go ahead and give Ben his due there. That's a good text in.
We've got a lot of other good texts too. And I'll tell you, there was one that made the bracket last night when JR and the rest of the office that was around were doing this, that made the cut for their bracket that dropped my jaw to the floor. I'll tell you what that one is next to see what people are saying. The best movie soundtracks of all time.
Find more Riot content online. riot.radiou.com.
The conversation here is, and this started yesterday around the office. It made its way to JR's show, and they talked about it for basically the entire show last night. And now here on the Riot. Earlier this week was National Soundtrack Day. We're talking the best movie soundtracks. And first of all, I said that there was a movie that made JR and the rest of the people that were with him, they narrowed it down to 16 that they thought were the best to put into a bracket last night. One of the ones that made it, The Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman makes sense.
It makes sense. I don't know one song from The Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman?
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's a lot of movies where I haven't seen the movie. For example, Ryan texted in The Breakfast Club, which was also mentioned last night. I've never seen The Breakfast Club. I know that movie ends with Don't You Forget About Me. That's iconic. I've never seen Risky Business. I know it has that scene where Tom Cruise, where it's old time rock and roll. I don't know any of the songs from The Greatest Showman. It's not like people are walking around singing them like they are with Moana or Hamilton or whatever. So I can't believe.
I would put The Greatest Showman right there. It's similar to Hamilton.
What's a song from The Greatest Showman?
The Greatest Show. A Million Dreams. Come on.
How do those go?
A Million Dreams is one of like the most well-known ones from the whole show. The Other Side. This Is Me. Another one that I'll put up there.
Yeah.
That nobody's mentioned yet. Sing.
That doesn't feel like it counts.
What do you mean?
It doesn't feel like it counts.
It feels like it's singing animals.
I also feel like
it's the whole premise of the movie.
Although we
soundtrack.
mentioned it, this was agreed to last night. Hamilton doesn't count either. It's a Broadway musical. They
But
haven't
the
even
Greatest
made.
Showman shouldn't count.
Well, that's a movie.
It's
Hamilton
also a
has not
musical.
been made a movie. Yeah, but I mean, that's different. I would count West Side Story, even though I don't think that rises to this either. Josh brought up a good one, Baby Driver, which that's a great playlist. Chad says Star Wars and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's a good one. You got some Beatles in there. Jim says a movie called White Nights. I was looking at that. I've never seen the movie. I don't even know if I've heard of it. But it does have some Phil Collins on the soundtrack. So
That's a winner then.
We're supportive of that. Jeff says Last of the Mohicans. I don't know what's on that.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
I don't know. I've definitely not seen it. This was a good one. Eric said Star Wars, of course, which makes a lot of sense. That has multiple songs where as soon as you hear it, and there's no words to the song, but as soon as you hear it, you know Star Wars, like across the globe, multiple songs. But he also said Jurassic Park. So well known, my brother walked down the aisle to the Jurassic Park. To the Jurassic Park. Da-na-na-na-na. Another one that I thought, does this count? James Bond.
It could.
Because James Bond obviously has the theme music, but also throughout the, 50 years of James Bond, and they always have an iconic Bond song, many better than others. Some of them suck, but some of them are classic songs that were made for the movies, like the Adele one and Paul McCartney. So I think James Bond has to be up there.
Another good one.
Yeah.
I'd also list off Beauty and the Beast. Feels like should be on there.
Yeah, of course. Another good Disney one. Suzanne, this is a good text. Have you seen this movie, Isaiah? The Prince of Egypt?
Ooh, I've not seen that one.
Oh, I was just talking about that because me and Angela might watch that this weekend because for some reason it was brought to my attention outside of this, and now Susanna texting it in. It's just confirmed. I've got to watch The Prince of Egypt this weekend. Great music in that movie. D brings up The Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music, okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. Did we say Frozen?
We said Frozen.
We said Frozen.
Interstellar.
What's an Interstellar?
It's got the little...
Just a good soundtrack.
Yeah, good soundtrack.
Yeah. Man, it's hard to narrow this down, isn't it?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, people are texting so many.
Yeah, it's just overwhelming.
Chuck says you could say Phantom of the Opera.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
Braveheart. Prince of Egypt, The Truman Show, Return of the King. So many good texts. So many good soundtracks.
It's overwhelming.
Ooh, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean, yes.
That's a good one.
Dun, 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 dun. As soon as you hear that, you're hyped up. You're like, where's Jack Sparrow? Let's go. Let's do some running on the ocean on the high seas.
The only thing Isaiah loves more than the riot is himself.
Someone who probably still lives with his mother and hates himself.
You're listening to The Riot on Radio U.
We're still getting people texting in on the conversation, the best movie soundtracks and scores of all time. This all started because National Soundtrack Day was earlier this week. JR brought it up around the office, talked about it all throughout his show last night, and still now the debate rages on. Isaiah, we got some more good responses from people chiming in, like Nate, who had a good point about Forrest Gump. He says, not only does it have a good list of songs from the 50s through 70s when the movie takes place, a 2 CD set that I remember my parents having and listening to a lot, but also a very good score. If you look up the score to Forrest Gump, and this is true, that it does have a really good, like the music that was made for the movie as well, very good.
I like that one. Forrest Gump, of course.
And that reminds me too, the same person who did I believe the score for Forrest Gump did the score possibly for Toy Story, I think. And Toy Story, not only a great score, but great songs by Randy Newman in all the movies.
Some really good ones. Somebody Love Me in the second one. Tearjerker there.
Yes, don't bring that up. You know what that does to me.
When Somebody Loved.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, that one's good.
Yeah. Also brought up by Hannah. She says The Lord of the Rings.
Okay, yep.
This was mentioned, but Charity had an interesting point on the Pirates of the Caribbean that she says that she's not 100% sure this is true, but she thinks that in Pirates of the Caribbean, the reason it's so memorable is because it's that same song, that dun 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 dun, dun, and that's the only song that's played, but it's played like at different tempos and with different instruments throughout the movie.
Okay.
But that's primarily all that's played. And I actually think there's several movies like that where that same song comes up over and over again, even though it's played differently. And so that really makes it probably very memorable and impactful. Also, I forgot about this, Isaiah. I wanted your reaction to this. One of the top ones that JR was in favor of last night, Tangled. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
I know Tangled soundtrack is popular.
Mm-hmm.
Not my favorite Disney movie one.
It does have the I Have a Dream song. That's a good song. What about Aladdin?
Aladdin's all right.
And I don't know. Chad also chimes in with Batman, which I was looking up lists of like the best soundtracks. That comes up too. I don't know. He's saying the Danny Elfman score with the Prince soundtrack. What a combo. What a different time for movies that was.
Let me give you a couple more.
Okay.
That I came up with.
Yep.
School of Rock. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, that's good.
Pitch Perfect?
Anything with Jack Black, which also makes me think of Mario Brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Mario Brothers.
Yes.
Yeah, Pitch Perfect. At its time, people loved the Pitch Perfect
the Cup song.
soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that's popular in the animated realms, Trolls. You've seen the Trolls movie, haven't you?
Yeah, Justin Timberlake.
Uh-huh.
Ugh.
You don't like that one so much?
I don't know about that one. I don't know if that stands up to Star Wars and The Lion King.
I don't think so.
Sorry to say.
I don't think so.
Yeah. But, you know, I think the last thing on this is it's interesting if you look up like the best movie scores too, how it's like any movie you think of, there's like literally 5 guys from the last 50 years that have made most of the iconic scores. It's like Hans Zimmer.
Yep. He made the one for Interstellar.
Also, he did The Lion King. He did Pirates of the Caribbean we're talking about. John Williams, who did Indiana Jones and what's the other one? Star Wars. And so many others. Yeah, it's like 4 guys, and they've done all. I don't know how they do it over and over and over again. So impressive.
The Blue Bloods.
Yeah, that's right.
Disinformation, mispronunciations, bad impressions. That's Hudson. This is The Riot on Radio U.
It's for you. I will lead off with a movie that is getting rave reviews. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this. Some say it looks very similar to John Wick. It's called Monkey Man.
I've seen the trailer. Only the one that was on the Super Bowl. That's what I've seen.
Yeah. It says, a young man ekes out a meager living in an underground fight club where, night after night, wearing a gorilla mask, he's beaten bloody by more popular fighters for cash. After years of suppressed rage, he discovers a way to infiltrate the enclave of the city's sinister elite. As his childhood trauma boils over, his mysteriously scarred hands unleash an explosive campaign of retribution to settle the score with the men who took everything from him.
The Monkey Man.
Starring and directing Dev Patel, Monkey Man, now in theaters.
87% on the tomato meter.
That's gone down. They were showing me, the trailer was coming up for me on YouTube. It kept saying 93%.
Oh, it's down to 87.
And then it came up again and it was like 92%. And it's like, why is it dropping like that?
Well, it's at 87.
And how are they updating it so fast?
Yes. The critics' consensus, wait till you hear this. An audacious effort, I don't know who wrote this, an audacious effort from debuting director Dev Patel. Monkey Man dispenses action and sociopolitical commentary with equal aplomb.
Aplomb?
A-P-L-O-M-B.
I don't know what that means.
Neither do I.
But the trailer looks cool. Does it not look cool?
The trailer does look cool.
Yeah. I kind of want to, I don't know if this is the one I will rush out to theaters to see, but I would like to see it one day.
It's only an hour and 53 minutes long.
That's good.
That's a good time.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Then, also in theaters, The First Omen. A woman starts to question her own faith when she uncovers a terrifying conspiracy to bring about the birth of evil incarnate in Rome.
This one looks scary.
Yeah. That's
83%.
an interesting little synopsis when it's really like, I mean, this is in the Omen horror movie series, right? So that they could have mentioned that, but no, a woman starts to question her faith. Yeah, this is definitely not my speed.
No, me either. 83% tomato meter. Critics' consensus, frequently frightening, even as it plays within the confines of a nearly 50-year-old film series. This prequel is the first omen of a bright future for the franchise in quite some time.
There's more omens to come. And then finally, this feels like some heavy subject matter. On Netflix, you can watch Scoop, an insider account of how the women of Newsnight secured Prince Andrew's infamous 2019 interview about his friendship with the infamous Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, that does sound more serious.
Yeah, starring Gillian Anderson from X-Files and The Crown. She's in that. That feels like a lot.
Feels like a lot for me as well.
Yeah, and not particularly a subject matter I'm all that interested in either. Monkey Man, though, I would like to get to. I swear that I'm going to go see the new Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters. That's going to happen soon.
It feels like in theaters is so much more epic.
Yeah,
for that movie
definitely.
Than watching it at your house.
Can I be honest? I forgot to denote this. The previous Godzilla vs. Kong, I said I just watched it, right?
Yeah.
I watched it again. I watched it for the second time earlier this week on my big TV. The first time I watched it on my phone.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, so it was so much better the second time.
You watched it on your phone?
I did the first time.
That's a waste.
Yeah,
you should have just waited.
Because they released it to Max like right away when it came out. And I watched it on my phone, and obviously it was still good, but way better on a TV. And I have to imagine even better in theaters.
Watch it on your phone. What were you at work? Where else do you watch on your phone? On an airplane?
Well,
a long car ride?
At that time, Angela not as interested in Godzilla vs. Kong.
So she's watching a show and you got it?
I watched it on my own, but then I finally convinced her to watch it now. And now she wants to go see the new one in theaters. So it worked. I don't know why it took so many years.
Angela's just watching TV at home, and then you're like in the corner in your recliner watching Godzilla vs. Kong on that one.
It's amazing our relationship survived that.
There's never been a can of worms they didn't open. The Riot, Radio U.
The things you see when you're looking for stories to talk about on the radio, I feel like they publish one of these literally once a day. Person returns overdue library book 60 years after it was taken out or whatever.
I've seen about 1 million of those stories.
Yeah, and clearly people must click on them because they're literally published a new one. It feels like every day. This story is
same
not that.
Story over and over again.
Yeah, it's crazy that people, even to this day, returning overdue library books 60 years late over and over again. But this is a much different version of that story, much more interesting, because I have a woman here in Texas. If it matters, she's a stay-at-home mom of 5, and she is now facing charges for returning a library book a year late.
Charges as in like fees?
Not just fees, but like actual criminal charges.
Oh, she's going to jail.
She could go to jail. I don't know if it's it could be a jail, it could be a fine. I don't know what exactly the punishment is, but check this out. This is in the Houston area. She took out some books about March of last year. This is while she was pregnant at the time. She also, by the way, 5 kids, she homeschools them. So these books are taken out for school, if that matters.
I'm hearing a lot of excuses off the rip. There's so many excuses. She's pregnant. There's 5 kids. She's homeschooling them. The books are for school.
Okay, but nevertheless, she was going through this pregnancy, a pretty difficult pregnancy apparently. So she sent to return this batch of books that she had taken out. Her husband was sent to the library to return them.
Oh, you can never count on your husband to return something.
He returned all but one book that they had taken out. He couldn't return the final book because they claim that the drop slot was full when he went. And so he never wound up returning it. A year later...
He never went back?
Apparently never went back.
In that year?
They either forgot or just was like, whatever. But nevertheless, a year later, she goes to renew her driver's license. And it says she can't renew it because she has a $570 ticket that she needs to pay. And that's when she finds out that the $570 ticket is in regards to not returning that one library book a year ago.
That's crazy.
$570.
No license for you.
She, in front of the judge said the same thing you did. It sounds like she's making a bunch of excuses, and doing what she did is equivalent to walking out of Walmart with merchandise without paying for it. And so they have charged her here with a theft of government property, which is a Class C misdemeanor that will show up on her record.
Put her in jail.
She says she's not able to fight she wants to fight this charges, but she can't because they have 5 children.
Here comes another excuse.
And they're already struggling to make ends meet. It's not cheap to go through the court system and try to fight this. And so she doesn't know. She's at her wit's end. She doesn't know what to do.
Return the books on time. What do you want from me? This is just another reason that you shouldn't be reading in the first place.
Yeah.
the dangers of trying to check out books
and teach your
then
children things.
Teachers and homeschool your children, teach them things. If you don't return the books on time, what kind of an example are you setting as a parent and a teacher?
Yes.
I would say this one, though, she cannot go to jail for this.
No. $570. What book could that be? It had to be a textbook.
That's what I'm thinking. But $570
because it was
for
just
a
some
year?
if this was Peter Cottontail, like $20 max.
$570
They can't charge
is a ton.
you that much more than the book is actually worth.
And people
especially after
wonder-
it's been used and abused by library patrons.
People wonder how libraries stay open.
Yeah. Yes.
People like this that forget to put their book back.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're charging $1,000 because you were a little bit late. The late fees just rack up like crazy. The snowball effect there is wild.
Yeah. And yeah, people can return their book 60 years later, get off scot-free. This lady, 1 year. And she's got a misdemeanor.
No license to show for it either.
She can't drive.
Hudson is the maple syrup, and Isaiah is the power protein flapjack. This is The Riot on Radio U.
Your birth order determines who you should date. They call it the birth order theory. Have you ever heard this?
I have not heard this one.
Well, you know that like people tend to stereotypically, generally, have different characteristics if they're the firstborn child in a family, if they're a middle child, the youngest, or if you're an only child. You all each carries with it some general characteristics that come with being that order. And so the thought is particularly that a firstborn child and a youngest child should not intermingle. Their relationship will not last. The reason thinking is the oldest child is going to be, their actions will come off as parental to the youngest child, whether man or woman, whatever. The one that's the oldest child will seem parental to someone who's the youngest child.
I could see that.
Yeah. That's probably why our relationship is so frayed, because I am the oldest child and you're a middle, so I come off as parental to you.
No, I think to a middle, it's different.
Oh, to a middle, yeah, because they're used to it.
Yeah.
They're adaptable is actually one of their characteristics. You're very adaptable.
Precisely.
And then, but I don't know, because I'm the oldest child. Angela, youngest child of two.
But it feels like she's in charge.
Yeah, she is parental to me. Yeah. I don't know. She wears the pants, but I may come off as the authoritative. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
I may come across, but maybe that's more condescension.
Or I guess that could just be in your eyes as well. You think that she respects you.
Yeah.
But in reality, from her point of view, she lets you think. She lets you think that.
Yeah. Do you think the birth order theory holds true? First of all, that all these characteristics can usually be attributed to people depending on their birth order, and that can affect who you should date?
I think that there are people that are firstborns or youngest childs or middle childs that do really give into these stereotypes like hardcore.
Yeah.
Like you can think of people that are the oldest sibling that are total mom vibes, and they have been since they were like 12 years old. They've always been like a parent to their younger siblings. I have like people in my mind right now that I'm like, one of my friends' wife, she's an oldest sister.
Yep.
And she has given off mom vibes her entire life. Her two younger siblings seem like crazy delinquents, and she is like the one who's in charge of them. And so it just depends. If you're someone who's like really far into it, like it's obvious, I could see there being maybe some issues. But for the majority of the time, like I'm a middle child, and I feel like some of these line up with me, but I'm not like super, super adaptable, independent, go between people pleaser. Maybe a little bit of a people pleaser.
Yeah, but that means as a middle child, you can date anybody.
Precisely.
Because you're so adaptable.
I'm the most versatile one.
Yes. Whereas the rest of us have to be more picky, and possibly also, it seems, more off-putting.
Especially for you, a firstborn.
You won't hear a show like this anywhere else. And that's probably for the best. The Worst of the Riot. Radio U.
And it's time for our segment we like to call Our 2 Cents. It's our chance in the show to just talk about whatever the heck we want, our likes and dislikes. Without further ado, this is Our 2 Cents.
I don't know if you noticed this morning, Hudson. But I rolled in a different vehicle.
No, our windows in this studio do not face the parking lot.
I rolled in this morning in a rental car
Is that good or bad?
It's very good because my truck, if you guys remember from like 3 years ago, when I hit the tree in the parking lot, is getting fixed.
Hey!
So now the front of my truck will no longer be broken. My car will be looking a little bit nicer. So for that reason alone, I'm excited, and I like that a lot.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
I wish I could top that, but I can't. But I do have some good news, and that is there's a deal, and we love deals here on The Riot. It's one of our top things. A fast food deal. Arby's right now running. You can get a free sandwich, any sandwich, with any purchase if you order online once a week this entire month. That's a lot of value.
That is.
Especially when you think Arby's food, especially the sandwiches, particularly on the pricier side for fast food, but you can get some pretty expensive sandwiches for some pretty cheap prices if you order a small curly fries or a soda or something. It feels like you're getting a real deal. I like that.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
Something I don't like. Today's my last day on The Riot. And so as I prepare to head out of Radio U, it makes me think about some of the greatest memories of Radio U for me, which are all surrounded by Jim the dog. And so I have to give a nod to Jim this morning because one thing I'm not going to like is not being able to share my Jim stories on the radio, because when he does ridiculous things at nighttime, when he pees in my bed, when he makes all these terrible mistakes in my house, I'm not going to be able to tell everybody anymore. And so for that reason alone, I do not like that, because I know you guys love Jim. I mean, what character on the show is more prevalent than Jim the dog? And so for that reason, Jim will miss all my Radio U listeners.
No, sir, I didn't like it.
Yeah, my don't like it follows the same similar lines here. Today, Isaiah's last day at Radio U, his last day on The Riot. And things are going to be different. I understand that, there's other parts of life. And so we're going to miss you here at Radio U, but we wish you the best going forward. And that's, I think, for me and everybody here and all the listeners too. We've seen a lot of them chiming in today. It's a sad day, but we know you've got good stuff coming. So we'll be praying for you going forward and wishing you the best. But nevertheless, it is sad to see you go. So I don't like it.
I got 3 words for you. You like that?
That's our 2 cents.
You just heard the worst of the worst. We'd give you the best of the best, but we'd have to find that. As soon as we do, you'll be the first to know.